So this is the August virtual ID table. And I tried to make it a little short because I want to make sure we have time. We have a really neat short presentation, and then by Tom and Beatrix Potter, which I've been looking forward to for a long time. And then we have a cool discussion with Emily Monnison, the author of Blight. So I want to go quickly through this, but I thought the timing, there were a couple of things that would be worth it to talk about. So if you want to find our iNaturalist project, I just showed the front page of it here and the URL. You can also go into iNaturalist and you could search in this little thing. You could just type in mycological and will pop up. Then you get this project and there should be a button for you to join. You can see here mine says leave because it's that I'm already in the project, but you can press join. Don't leave. Don't even think about it. All right, so these are two photos that Tom Moore posted, and I thought they were, first of all, terrific photos, very beautiful, and I thought they were great sort of examples of, you might say these are lookalikes. I mean, I guess it probably depends on your level of comfort or familiarity with these species, but I mean, I think especially. I think I could get tricked from far away. And I also think, honestly, when I was first getting started, I don't know that I would have at all been able to tell these apart. So let's see, I wanted to pull up the chat. I don't know if I can do that, but do people want to throw out any guesses on what these are in the chat? Oh yeah, I think I can pull up the chat. Yes. So Alan Perper said golden gill geronima. And so Alan, which one are you talking about? Or both, or? Yeah. So on the right, totally. And then on the left, Alan or anyone else want to chime in? Or you can just literally turn off your volume and say it out loud if you want. You can call it out. Someone's got to give me a guess. Am I missing a chat thing, or is nobody guessing? Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Totally. So that's correct. So we have chanterelles. Oh, good. Thank you, Mandy. Excellent. So we have chanterelles on the left, indeed, and on the right, we have Geronima strombodes. It always makes me think of stromboli. I don't know why that makes me kind of hungry. But anyway, I think these are two really good ones to compare. I actually have a Facebook group that I made called Compare and Despair because I really like comparisons. And this would be a good one to take side-by-side pictures. There are a lot of chanterelle lookalikes, actually. They call the Hydrophoropsis orientiaca. They call it a false chanterelle, but I think I've seen a lot of people post these geronima and think that they're chanterelles. So I feel like there are a lot of masqueraders. So John, are you turning on your speaker? Did you want to say something, or?
I was just going to say that the chanterelle there, that I wouldn't particularly be able to say what chanterelle that is. It's not our smooth chanterelle, and there may be a whole bunch of them around here. So it's something the DNA committee needs to take up. But yes, it is a chanterelle.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you, John. And I'll say a little something about that, but not as much as I'd like to. There was a great talk that NAMA had by Rachel Swenny from Brandon Matheny's lab in Tennessee, she gave a talk about chanterelles, and we should probably try to have her talk to us. So I'll put that on the docket first. I think she'd be a good person because she's done a lot of work sequencing chanterelles, especially in her area in the Southern Appalachian region. But I think she might be able to help us figure some stuff out too. So yes, anyone want to throw out, how would you tell these species apart? And yeah, perfect. Adonia said, what is the key difference between the two? And I think that's great. So would anyone want to either pop on and say some key differences that they see, or you could write it in the chat. So Lauren said, oh, go
The
ahead.
golden gills are on logs. It's the only place I've ever seen them is growing on very decaying logs.
Awesome, Alan. Thank you. Yes, that's totally true. And honestly, if you see them growing from the ground and you think they're growing from the ground, dig up the piece of wood that they're growing on, because they're growing from wood. It's under the ground. The tricky thing is there can be some craterellus that grow from wood weirdly, or one might say through wood, because I don't know if those craterellus are really, maybe they're kind of saprobes or have a kind of saprobic state or whatever, but I see them, I think ignicolor, I see craterellus ignicolor all the time growing on logs, and really decayed logs or through those logs. And that's in the chanterelle family, but looks very different than this. So yes, chanterelles should be growing from the soil, and Geronima should be growing from wood. And if you can't find the wood, you should dig and look for it.
Why
The
is
gills,
that?
well, the Geronima, they're a saprobic mushroom. Like they get their energy from decaying wood. And chanterelles, have like a mycorrhizal relationship. Definitely depends on the species, but in our area, I would say we most commonly see them with oaks and beech. And so those are the places that you would want to look for chanterelles. Also, you would want to look in acidic soil. So if you find areas that have kind of acidic soil with oak and beech, those should be very good places to look for chanterelles. That's different from morels, which I think are maybe more with the calcareous soil, which I think is more basic. But Tom McCoy could probably speak to that better because he is a geologist. So the gills, I thought Lauren brought up, was a good point. And you can see the Geronima, they have, pretty classic kind of gills. I mean, they're decurrent, meaning going down the stem. That's how they attach. They run down the stem. But if you look at them closely, they're like a clearly separate gill structure. And it's a little different. I mean, some people will say chanterelles have false gills. And I don't know. I mean, false is never really that helpful of a word to me, but I would say they have more like ridges or folds than like a kind of fan-like gill. Anything else that people want to say? I mean, it's no need if not, because I have some more. Oh, thank you so much, Mitch. That's perfect. So that I was hoping someone would say that. So Mitch said the dark fibrils or fibrils in the cap center of Geronima can help distinguish them as well. Totally, I agree. So I'll go to just this little slide I made to do some comparison, and we covered most of these things. A couple other things we didn't cover. The cap of Geronima, when it's very young, it might be sort of flat, but it becomes more depressed with age. So, almost like a funnel if you look at it from the top. And the cap of Cantharellus is usually not depressed. Craterellus, that's another story. You will see depressed Craterellus caps. But the Cantharellus caps are all very well adjusted and happy. That's a joke. The Geronima has very thin flesh. So if you pick them and, kind of pull them in half, you'll find that they are kind of flimsy. And in contrast, the chanterelles have very solid, firm, kind of dense flesh. And if you break them in half, the flesh is often like lighter on the inside, and it almost will have like little strings that can come off of it. Some people say it's like a string cheese texture, which I could see. So I just posted or showed some posts, these are all from our MAW project. And we have tons of this smooth chanterelle, Cantharellus lateritius. And so then the question is that really what these are? And Rachel Sweeney's article that I mentioned and also her talk, she suggested, I think that it's possible that Flavolateruceus may be a more common smooth chanterelle. So like definitely, I think iNaturalist has a complex that you can pick. I'm not going to go through all of these and like, because honestly, we can't be sure what they are, but I would just say that there's a good chance that they are not Cantharellus latericius, but they may be something else related. And yeah, we should sequence them. Alan, I loved this picture that you posted. I just thought it was such a stunner. So I had to post it. It's really, I just posted it more because it's eye candy. I don't think, it's hard to confuse these amanitas for other things. This is clearly an amanita, but it's just so beautiful. And it's an amanita. So I thought it would be a good opportunity because this is big amanita season. Like you'll see a ton of them right now. Russula, amanita, boletes, all of these are popping out. They're everywhere. And amanita can be very difficult. We have a lot of unpublished species, but they may have provisional names. And I highly recommend the website amanitaceae.org, which is Rod Tulos's website, where he has a lot of the mushroom species that haven't necessarily been published yet, and it's a neat resource. But I thought this was a terrific resource that Gary Gilbert and Jay Justice made. They made these myco cards, which are great too. You could look them up because they have a website where they sell them, and they're really neat cards. If you're not a book reader and you want to have something smaller and handier, I think it's a great way to learn. And they made this terrific chart. So I think this is something to keep by your side, and you could even take it out with you. But if you look at the picture that Alan posted, so a couple critical things. There's a striate margin, meaning there are lines, and those lines, they're taking up almost, even at this age, they're taking up almost all of the cap. It's not just a little bit on the edges, it's like very prominent. You can see that there is no ring or partial veil, and that's important. No, otherwise known as an annulus. And then here, and also here, you can see there's a vulva, and those are remnants of the universal veil. And, that's like because amanitas start in an egg. So you could use this, and you would get to vaginatae. I don't want to keep going because I don't want to run out of time. I actually thought this could be Amanita albemarlensis, which is not published, but it's a provisional name. It's such a stunning mushroom. So Alan, you should look at that and see if it looks right to you. That's all I have, and I'll turn it over to Tom McCoy, our wonderful club vice president, to talk about Beatrix Potter.